Hi everybody, my name is Ryan Hill, Programming Director at ArtsQuest and the lead programmer at the Frank Banko Alehouse Cinemas, and these are my favorite 10 movies from the 2010s. Number 10 on my list is Bridesmaids, which I absolutely love. I think it's one of the funniest movies that's ever been made. It was at a time when Kristen Wiig was obviously going to be graduating from Saturday Night Live, and you didn't know, what exactly she was going to do. She co-writes this movie, and it's a showcase. You've got Kristen Wiig, Melissa McCarthy, and Maya Rudolph all in the same film. Not even fair. Number 9 on my list is the documentary I Am Not Your Negro about James Baldwin. The decade of the 2010s was amazing for documentaries. I'm actually kind of surprised there's not more on my list, but there's just a lot of great movies. This one in particular is one of the most effective documentaries I've ever seen, and there's not an ounce of fat on it at all. It's an hour and 33 minutes, and it's just from front to back. In one of the most powerful documentaries I've ever seen, and just one that I think celebrates a life that doesn't get talked about nearly enough in American history. And number 8 on my list is the Chilean film Gloria, directed by Sebastian Lelio. It's one of the best uses of color I've seen in a film, and it's just this amazing story. It's full of life, and it's just something that I just blew me away, because it seemed like a kind of a quiet film that just had this really captivating performance with its lead actress. It's one of those films that I think is kind of life-affirming, but also just fun to watch, because you see this woman go through a lot of different things and just come out on the side of strength and power and realizing who she is. Number 7 on my list is a Pixar film, Coco, which, just like Gloria, has an amazing use of color. I was going back and forth with whether or not Inside Out or Coco was my favorite Pixar film of the decade, because both are incredible movies. But Coco was the one that took it for me. The song is so effective, and it gets used so effectively throughout the movie. The story's great, and again, the animation is just absolutely top-notch, an absolutely beautiful film. Number 6 on my list, Creed. I love a good boxing film, yet I had not seen any of the Rocky movies until this decade, believe it or not. I got to basically see Creed having seen all the Rockies, and this movie just balances so nicely the homage to Rocky films while creating this new story. Michael B. Jordan's incredible in it, and Tessa Thompson also. It's just very, very well done, and one of the best sports movies of all time. My number 5 film of the decade is one of the most joyous films of all time, Singh Street, an absolute romp. This is this great story of this band, in Ireland, who are, trying to make it happen in the 80s. The music's incredible, and just it's wall-to-wall fun, even though it's also throws you through the ringer a bit. But it's just an absolutely, I smiled basically from start to finish in this film. Such a great movie to rewatch again and again too. It's incredibly rewatchable. My number 4 favorite film of the decade, The Babadook, which scared the hell out of me, but is also one of the most beautiful films I feel like I've ever seen. Just so impactful, the story's amazing, the tension gets ratcheted up just enough. It's psychological, but it's also just very real, and you just feel every single bit of this film. But The Babadook was so effective that to this day, if I just lean over to my wife and whisper in her ear, Babadook, she pounds me, she just hits me, straight up smacks me. She's still scared of Babadook. My number 3 favorite film of the decade, the James Bond film Skyfall. This film, in rewatching it, I realized that it may be the perfect Bond film in that it's got all those great elements that sometimes were not there in all the films, but it combines a great performance from Daniel Craig, and it's one of the best openings in this film. It's got a great story, it's got an amazing song from Adele, and the villain, Javier Bardem, is just top-notch. It's one of the, hands down, probably something that hits all the beats of a Bond film that you'd want. It also, at the end, wraps up this beautiful thing that had started with the Daniel Craig films, in that it was technically a reboot, and it kind of, Skyfall allows the whole series to come full circle in an homage back to the Sean Connery films. My second favorite film of the 2010s is What We Do in the Shadows. This film is so funny. This is Taika Waititi's mockumentary of vampires living together. Jermaine Clement is in it. They're in New Zealand, and it is just so well done. And it's so hard to pull off this type of movie anymore, mockumentaries, because reality TV is so on the side of ridiculously now that to be able to do this, there's some great quiet jokes that really, really land. The performances are amazing, and the idea is just incredible. Probably easily the funniest film of the decade to me, and Bridesmaids gives it a run for its money, but those two films, watch those back to back, you will laugh so damn much. My favorite film of the 2010s is Frances Ha. This is directed by Noah Baumbach at a time where he was falling in love with Greta Gerwig, and you can feel that through every scene in this film. Frances is a very flawed character, and it's obvious throughout, but every shot is just so stunning. It's shot in black and white. Now, there's an amazing scene where Frances is dancing through the streets to David Bowie's Modern Love, and unfortunately I did learn that was lifted from a different movie. I've always loved that scene, which is a little bit of a bummer, but doesn't take away from the fact that this film for me was very personal at a time when I had just been starting working at ArtsQuest, maybe a couple years in. I was also a performer, but I was wrapping up that part of my life and kind of transitioning into being involved in the arts in the way that I am now, and as an arts management. And that's the storyline with Frances Ha. That's what's happening too. And there's these steps along the way where you have these realizations that it's okay to do this, it's okay to not perform anymore. And so that movie is incredibly personal to me, but it's also just fantastically done. And I absolutely love it. Every single time I watch it, I love it even more. It's one of the few films that gains for me every single time I watch it.